Morning, Fly Tires. My name's John Schultz. I'm a still water junkie, and this is one of my favorite still water patterns. It's just a modification of olive and black woolly bugger, but I made a few changes to it years ago, and I found it outfishes as typical olive and black woolly bugger about 10 to 1. You know, basically, it's just the woolly bugger with a black lateral line in it, and you'll notice that one side of the marabou tail is black marabou, the other side is olive marabou, sculpin olive to be exact. And I learned that from Bill Sheese in Idaho that if you mix 50-50 an olive and black tail like that with the materials separated against each other, it gives an almost like flash like a lure as you strip that fly into the water. So that's the reason for the way it's being done. I'm going to tie this fly on a moonlit MLO 54 size 6 hook, and I'm tying it on my brand new Norvise stainless steel version of their vise. I've been tying on a Norvise for about 12 years and absolutely love it, but I just got this brand new version. So here's the package for the Moonlit MLO 54. I'm going to use number 70 black thread on this tie. So I'm going to begin the fly by dressing my hook shank. Something I like to do when I am dressing my hook shank is put a thin coat of water-based head cement across those threads. It really seems to help keep my flies together, and I hate it when my flies come apart when I'm fishing them. Next item I'm going to put on this fly is a piece of Wapsi sculpin olive marabou, and this is the woolly bugger style marabou, and particularly tying these generally smaller versions of woolly buggers, I really like to use woolly bugger marabou. It's much thicker, so it comes out dense without it having to be a big long tail to give the density. I'm going to pull that off the feather and trim the butt ends off, and then I'm going to lay it on the side of the fly away from me and get it wrapped in, and I'm going to try and hold the tail out as I'm wrapping it so that it stays on that side of the fly. Then I'm going to repeat the process with a piece of Wapsi black woolly bugger marabou. Tear off about an equal chunk to the sculpin olive. Trim the butt ends off. And again, I'm going to lay it on the near side of the fly towards me. And tie it in, and again I will hold it out as I go to maintain it on the close side of the fly to me. I'm going to go back and wrap that all in good. Next, I'm going to add a piece of extra fine copper wire just as an overwrap for my hackle feathers to keep the feather from falling apart. When we have lots of big cutthroat trout in our neighborhood that have a tendency to want to tear your flies up pretty badly. So after that, I'm going to add a piece of black hackle feather and tie it in from the tip of the feather. So I'm going to separate the barbs down so they will disperse equally on the fly as I wrap it on, and tie it in from the tip section. And I'm going to add in a piece of small olive chenille, and this chenille has a fine strand of copper, or excuse me, of gold flash built into the chenille itself. I don't know that it's a critical part of the fly, but that's the way I tied it when I started, and so I've stuck with it ever since. Now I'm going to advance that chenille to the front of the fly, keeping my wraps as close together as I can, and leaving a little space for a head. Trim off the excess. Next I'm going to take 3 strands of, again, Wapsi copper crystal flash, and I am going to lay 3 strands down the inside edge of the fly so it looks like a lateral line on the fly. I'm going to tie it in right at the head, and I try and get these tied in real snug at the head so they don't rotate around the fly. I'm going to take my fibers after I've got them securely wrapped so they stay in place down both sides of the fly in a lateral line. Get my hackle feather up out of the way where I can advance it. And advance my hackle up along both sides of the fly, making sure as I go that I'm getting my lateral lines in place where I want them. Tie in my hackle feather. And trim it off. Next I'm going to take my copper wire and advance it up beyond the eye of the fly. And as I work it forward, I'm going to worry it back and forth through the fibers of the fly to where it will work through the fibers rather than bend them down. Trim that wire off with the throat of my scissors so I don't damage them. And I'm going to take my copper crystal flash and try and trim it equally to the tail end of the fibers of the fly. And whip finish ahead onto the fly. I like to double whip finish. Again, I hate to have my flies come apart, so I do 2 full whip finishes on my fly. And as a final touch, I'm going to use a small bit of Solar Res UV cement as a head cement. And there you have a CopperSide olive and black woolly bugger.